G'day there guys, it's Connie here again from Marky Industries, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Righty, we're on relationships. This one was written by user Room8Issues, and it's titled, Me with my roommates of 3 months. They have told me I'm not allowed guests to stay overnight, mostly men. I've been living with my roommates for 3 months now. I knew them for about a year before moving in, and I thought they were pretty cool, but I don't know now. They've known each other for years, since high school. Anyway, in the first month, I brought someone home from town, and he ended up staying the night. One of my roommates saw him leave in the morning and told the other one, and they kinda gave me crap for a while, but eventually they got over it. Or so I thought. The next time I had a friend, a girl, stay over the night, and we watched movies. I asked if I could have her over, and they both said that's fine, but complained afterwards that we had made too much noise, and that they didn't want that friend over again, night or day, because she laughed too loudly. She does, but banning someone from the house because laughing? I said fine, whatever, and we've done movie nights at her place since. I've recently been seeing this guy though for about a month, and he's stayed over 3 times since then. The first night they thought it was a one-night stand thing again and gave me crap. Second night they kind of seemed annoyed, and one said that we'd been using the bathroom too much. His room is right next to it. I didn't think we had, but I said okay, but they didn't say I couldn't bring him over again. Third night they told me he wasn't allowed over again because it was their space and he used the bathroom too much and they could hear us having sex all night. We had sex once and it was in the morning, so I don't really know what they were hearing. Also, he only used the bathroom once, and I told him to be really quiet, and he was. But they said they don't want me bringing people over anymore, and that I can go to the person's house if I'm going to keep doing it. I can get it if it was for safety, like if I was bringing random guys into the house, but for friends and a guy I've been seeing? There's another flatmate, a girl who was always at her boyfriend's, but she was there one night and said she didn't hear anything, and she's right next to my room, so I think they may be making crap up. They bring guys over and play Xbox till like 3 in the morning, and their friends pass out on the couch. I'm getting pretty annoyed with all the hypocrisy. I would move, but can't afford to move out right now and live on my own. But are they being reasonable? Am I being a bad roommate? I was way worse with my other flat. I brought home guys all the time, and no one ever complained. How can I go about making them more okay with me having people over? Or do I just have to deal with it? Honestly, they sound like horrible housemates. I think you're well within your rights as someone paying rent to bring a friend over for a night or two. Honestly, if I was OP, I'd tell them to grow up and not give in to their demands. Let's go to the comments. You haven't really given enough info to say for sure, but I'm going to guess that it's jealousy. They just gave you crap at first, because that's what guys do when they're mildly jealous sometimes. I've felt for a long time that tramp shaming is often rooted in jealousy, but then you started bringing the same guy around, so they ramped it up. Obviously, they don't follow their own rules, so you don't have to either. You could tell them that you'll stop having people over when they do, but that might start a feud of some sort. I would tell them to mind their own business. I totally understand that confrontations like this are extremely uncomfortable, but if you want any chance of getting them to stop their bullcrap, you'll have to persevere. Opie replies, I don't think it's jealousy. We knew each other beforehand, and neither of them have ever indicated any interest like that before. Yeah, I think I'm just going to keep doing it, and if they say anything, just to point out that they bring people over, and it's my place too. I wasn't sure if it was a standard thing since I've only lived with one other group of roommates. Another commenter adds, I think perhaps you're confusing jealousy with envy. It may not come from a place of desire. It could simply be a case of not wanting anyone else to have what they can't. I'm inclined to agree with parent comment on this one. The only reason in my mind an adult male gets uncomfortable with an adult female he knows is sexually active is jealousy. Seeing your beau leave in the morning is probably triggering them. Could also be an alpha thing. It's their house. No unfamiliar men on their turf, etc. You keep doing you, girl. Opie replies, haha, maybe actually. Neither of them have brought anyone home, so it could be that. Not my problem though. All of these comments have got me just waiting for them to say something now. Go by whatever the lease says. You pay to live there just like they do. As long as none of the people you invite over decide to move in suddenly, you're fine. She says, nothing about it in the lease, but since I have to live with them for at least a couple more months, do I just say I'm going to keep doing it? Deal with it? Or is there some way I can do it so they don't get ticked off? The commenter adds, how about you stop bringing people over when they stop playing video games till 3 and having friends crash on the couch? Sound like a good compromise? It won't to them because they're hypocrites who think they can bully you. Tip, don't let them. They're being unreasonable and you know it. Lease doesn't say crap and your guests aren't staying for more than one night. If they try and go to the landlord, have your female roommate back you up. You're paying to live in a space, so you have the right to enjoy it in a reasonable manner. These are the moments that either make you a doormat or give you a spine of steel. She replies, I really don't mind the video games since I'm usually awake anyway, but if I'd been trying to sleep it would definitely keep me up. I'll bring this up if I have him over again and they say something. I usually don't like confrontation, but I really don't like the idea of not being able to do what I like in my own home, so just gotta bite the bullet and do it. Thanks. It's not about what you mind or are okay putting up with. Fair is fair, and they're being hypocritical jerks. Do what you want, just don't be an arse about it. If they give you crap, tell them. They invite people over, and you're just doing what they're doing as a roommate that's paying rent to live there. She replies, will do. I'm really glad people don't think I'm being unreasonable though. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, some sound advice there. Opie updates 2 weeks later. I honestly cannot believe how quickly things escalated, and I'm sorry for not updating sooner, but I've been ridiculously stressed and busy with what happened. So, following the advice posted, I continued bringing over my now boyfriend and ignoring them if they beat about it. Things came to a huge head last weekend, and I spent the last week dealing with the fallout. Last Saturday he came over, and we were going to have an early night so we could do some hiking in the morning. Roommates were drinking with their friends playing Xbox, making loads of noise, so I went out and asked if they could keep it down. I honestly thought they were fine. Me and him were able to sleep until about 4 AM when one of them burst into our room with a frickin' baseball bat and started smashing crap. He was screaming things about how I had embarrassed him in front of his friends when I didn't have the decency to shut up, calling me a tramp and a hoe. I thought he was going to kill me, but my boyfriend jumped up and started trying to restrain him. The other roommate ran in and started helping. My boyfriend got smacked in the nose and blood was running everywhere. I was on the phone with police by this point. They came and he was arrested. My boyfriend had to go to hospital. Tim had broken his nose, and about $350 worth of damage was done to my belongings. The other roommate has not stopped apologizing to me non-stop about how he didn't realize that the crazy roommate was that bad, and he was just trying to back up an old friend. But he said my boyfriend is welcome any time. Me and my boyfriend both have a restraining order against crazy roommate, and the police came with him as he moved out all his crap, and we've gotten the locks changed. I'm still looking at moving out as soon as possible, and am staying most nights at my boyfriend's. I'm struggling to sleep because I'm sure somebody is going to burst into the room. I can't believe I could misjudge someone so much. Wow, he sounds completely unhinged. I don't think most people could see that coming. Let's read some final comments. Don't blame yourself for misjudging your former roommate. I don't think anyone could have seen that coming. Seeing the other roommate also seemed quite shocked. You're probably right. Yeah, especially since the other roommate had known the guy a long time. He was 110% into her in addition to being a nut job. Reading that was terrifying because at one point I was at my high school boyfriend's house with several of our mutual friends all playing video games, and he took me upstairs and shredded me about embarrassing him in front of his friends because one of our mutual friends had a stiff neck and I rubbed it, like literally so platonic. Guess who turned out to be a jealous, abusive crap? Wow, I thought the drama was heading towards a jealous rage, not psycho bat murder. Here, how about both? Anyway guys, that's the end of that story. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Plenty to say about this guy, I'm sure. Anyway, we're leaving that there and moving on to another story. Alrighty, skipping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Other Transition and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for not having my wife apologise to my stepmum? I, 32 male, have been married to my wife Vivian, 29, for 6 years. We have 3 kids. I have several siblings, but this instance revolves around a half-brother, Trevor, 18, who lives out of state. Trevor came to visit over his spring break. My stepmum has never liked Trevor, mostly because she doesn't like his mother. About 3 days into Trevor's visit, my stepmum kept making snarky comments about him. his mum and his family, school, his tattoo, etc. Trevor got tired of this and grabbed his car keys and said he was leaving. This was around 11 p.m. My stepmom laughs and says he doesn't have enough gas to get home or money to get more. Trevor said that he didn't need enough gas or money to get home, he just needed enough gas to get to my house. My stepmom laughs again and says I'm not even at home, I'm at work, which was true, I work nights, and that Vivian, my wife, would never let him stay here. Trevor says, I guess we'll see, because he knew Vivian wouldn't tell him no, and leaves. My stepmother then calls my wife and tells her that Trevor is on his way to our house, and under no circumstances is Vivian to allow him to stay with us. Vivian says she's not going to turn him away, especially not in the middle of the night, and that everyone can talk about it tomorrow. She'll let me know to call my dad when I get a chance to figure out what's going on. My stepmom begins to get angry and says that Trevor is not Vivian's child to allow to do whatever he wants, and Vivian needs to respect her as the mother of the family, and that she can make life in the family difficult for Vivian if she needs to for Vivian to understand her place, and that Vivian has no right to let people into my home without my knowledge. There were other things said as well, and eventually Vivian loses her patience and ends the call by saying that my stepmom is just mad that she can't be a F-bomb bully to Trevor anymore because he found a loophole. My stepmother calls me while I'm at work and tells me Vivian was rude to her. At this point, I have no idea that anything has happened. She then calls my dad, he works nights as well, and tells him some version of events. My dad calls me and tells me that Vivian was disrespectful and had no right to speak to her that way and needs to apologize for her behavior. I get a call about 5 minutes later from Vivian. She tells me that Trevor is at our house, and they tell me everything that happened since Vivian wasn't at the house and Trevor wasn't there yet for the call. I call my dad and tell him that it doesn't sound like Vivian did anything except stand up for herself, and my dad insists that Vivian needs to apologize. I tell him if anybody is owed an apology, it's Vivian. This was all 3 days ago. I'm getting texts from family members about Vivian needing to apologize, and that Vivian doesn't have the right to get involved with family squabbles, and she shouldn't have let Trevor run away from the consequences of his actions. No one can tell me what the actions were, and if Vivian doesn't apologize, then she's not welcome around anymore. I don't think she owes an apology, but I had a bad relationship with my family for years when I was younger, and since it's improved dramatically, I've been a lot happier having them in my life, and I don't want to lose that, but I also can't just allow someone in it to disrespect my wife so blatantly and expect an apology for it. But Vivian at this point is starting to feel bad, and she always stresses too much over absolutely anything she thinks she might have done to upset someone, so this really sent her on a series of mental gymnastics, and she says she doesn't want to be the reason I have a bad relationship with my family yet again. I've remained firm that she doesn't owe them anything, but am I the a-hole for not having her do it, just to get it over with? Nah, to be honest, sounds like Vivian's the only one stepping up and being an adult here. I also think what Trevor did or didn't do is very important here, and we haven't really got that yet. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. Your wife is a good person for supporting your brother, whilst your stepmother is a manipulative and cruel woman, and your dad is supporting her behaviour. I think it's time to cut off both of them and let your brother know that you'll always have his back. Opie says he definitely knows we will. The last 3 visits he's made, he's stayed with us to avoid her. He just didn't this time because it was also the kids' spring break, and V had a lot of things planned for them to go do. Now she's just been taking him with them. You are all adults. Your stepmother went on a bullying rampage, then full bat crap power tripping. She isn't your mother, nor your wife's mother, not even your brother's mother, so where the heck is she claiming the title? And even if she was, you are all adults. She can't make any of you do anything. She has no authority on whom enters your and your wife's home, no more than where and what your adult brother chooses to be or do. No, she can't do as she wants. No, she doesn't get to decide what other adults do with their lives. No, she can't force others to follow her orders to bully. No, she doesn't get to do whatever the hell she wants, or conduct herself in such an horrific extent without consequences. What is really concerning is how fast she started to be menacing towards your wife, how sure she was to not get anyone opposing her, certain of being able to force others into her insane demands. Your wife has nothing to apologize for. She deserves some for the insanity she's had to put up with. Your stepmother wants to cause pain and control over others. She reached a quite dangerous level of having lost touch with reality. She sounds actually seriously dangerous. Opie replies, she has a daughter of her own from a previous marriage, and she and my dad have my youngest brother together also. They've been married for a long time, so I'm assuming that's where she came up with that line. Not the a-hole. The stepmom sounds like she's on a power trip. Can you tell your dad everything Vivian said or threatened? That her dislike of Trevor is also putting a wedge between you and your dad too? You were right to stand up for your wife and T. I'm sorry everyone else isn't reasonable. He replies, I'm planning to speak to my dad one last time about this situation tonight. I told him the conversation that happened, but I have no idea what my stepmother told him what happened in the call. Not the a-hole. Here is the thing. The moment you have her apologize is the moment that your family and you win, because it gives your stepmom clear go-ahead to abuse your wife and make sure she knows her place in your stepmom's view of family. You can be sad about losing the relationship, but if you step in the direction others are demanding, then at that moment you are enabling your wife to be abused. You are enabling your adult stepbrother to be abused and having no safe place to escape to. Is having your family in your life really worth that? Knowing your wife from now on can't stand up for herself, for someone else being abused, she has to just sit there and take it so you can have the relationship you want with them. Are you okay seeing that and not saying anything? Do you really think your wife, sweet as she is, will be willing to accept that for the rest of her life? To accept any kids you have or might have being subjected to the same, or to see your family abuse their mother? Your family is willing to cut you both off because you both did not enable one person to abuse another. That should be the issue here. They don't want the drama stepmom causes, so it's just shut up and take it. If someone else gets abused, I feel for them, but I don't want it turned on me. Is this really how your mum, dad, and other family raised you? To ignore other things? To accept it because it's family, and instead of being held to a higher standard, they are allowing the abuse and encouraging it? Opie replies, You're right. Today was the first day where I was off work and was able to really sit and think about the whole situation without being bombarded with work and calls left and right. And the more I think about it, the more I've realised there's been a lot of other but much smaller things she's said to my wife that didn't stick out really at the time, and that my wife never brought up again as having bothered her, but now that I'm replaying them in my head, they're bothering me. Trevor's actual mother has found out about it now, as well, and called me to ask me to thank my wife for taking him in when he needed real family, as she puts it. I do think that going no contact with them all, minus Trevor, is going to be the way this ends. Okay, now for the update the next day. First of all, thank you for all the advice and kind words for and about Vivian. I spoke to my dad last night, and I wish I could say it went well, but I think absolutely nobody expected it to. He put me on speaker, and my stepmother was in the room with him. I said that Vivian will not be apologising, and she is an adult who can make her own decisions about having a guest in our home. I don't control her decision-making. My stepmom cut in with, You're controlling her now by deciding for her she can't make things right. To which I responded, You might be right about that, but in this instance it's a risk I'm willing to take. She doesn't have anything to apologise for. I said I'm not going to allow you to continue to cause her or myself unnecessary stress. I also told them that they can't seriously expect an apology after the way they acted, and if they did, they were borderline insane. You can't bully and belittle someone repeatedly and expect them to be okay with it forever. And you cannot threaten an adult and expect it to just go over nicely. I told them that if they were so willing to act like children and cut Vivian, and by extension me and our children, out of the family, then we would save them the hassle and do it ourselves. I told them we would be blocking their numbers along with everyone else. They tried to argue more, but I simply hung up, which might have been immature, but I was just done. I blocked everyone's numbers. About an hour later, I get a Facebook message from my stepsister. I rarely use Facebook, so I forgot I had her as a friend on there. My stepsister is the only sibling who isn't my dad's and is only my stepmom's. She and Vivian have always been really close. She hasn't been involved in this situation at all, so I took the chance and called her. She asked me if everything her mum had told her was true, and I said most likely not, but this is what happened and explained it all to her. She then told me several instances where her mum had been similar to her and her fiancé. She said she had wanted to cut ties a long time ago, but didn't want to be the only one in the family who was on the outs, as she doesn't have a dad, so no other family to turn to. She asked if I'd really blocked them, and planned to keep it that way. I said yes, and so did Vivian and Trevor. She said she'd call me back, and hung up. About 20 minutes later, I get a call from her again, saying she'd called my stepmum, or her mum, and cut the cord with them as well, and had blocked their numbers too, as did her fiancé. So while I might have lost a decent amount of family members, I did actually get to keep the best 2 out of the bunch, plus obviously my wife and kids. Thanks to everyone for the advice. One comment says, "Great resolution, the only rational way to deal with insane people." Not the a-hole, your stepmother is unhinged. She has no business telling your wife what to do in her own home. What's with that BS that Vivian can't let people in the house without your permission? Why is your father not defending his son from your stepmother's rude comments? Yeah, the only explanation to that is that she's gotten into his head as well, or he's probably just as bad as her, either or. But yeah, great to hear that they've cut out that negativity once and for all, and that other family members are following suit. Pretty good ending, I say. Anyway guys, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories, thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day, cheers.